Okay, how's it going, everybody? So we're going to read some more Marx today. This is this is the fourth annual report of the General Council. This was, the General Council he's referring to here is the International Working Men's Association. So this was written in September 1st, 1868. Let's go ahead and check this out. There are quite a few notes. I don't think it's okay. So this is like the German text. Yeah, okay. This is just kind of stuff like German words maybe that Marx uses. I'm not sure. There doesn't seem to be any particular notes. There's just a lot of them. So let's go ahead and get into this. The year 1867 to 68 will mark an epoch in the history of the association. I never know is that word epoch or epoch. I'm not going to look it up right now. Sometimes I'll get on here and look up certain words to see how you pronunciate them. But well, yeah, let's go ahead and find this out. What's the official pronunciation? I do this sometimes where I get on here and try to see how you pronunciate. Like entente, I always said it was intente until I read Stalin saying it, and then I looked it up, and it's entente. I did that on a Stalin video. How to pronunciate. Let's go ahead and check this out. How do you say this?
Epic.
Epic. Epic. Okay. No pock at all. It's just epic. Even though it's spelled Epoch. Oh, English language. There's another word, epic, and I think it's kind of a different meaning. A memorable event or date, that's what I've been previously saying is epoch, but it's epic. But then epic is also like an adverb, or I think it's a type of playwright. But anyway, let's go ahead and get back into this. The year 1867 to 68 will mark an epoch in the history of the association. After a period of peaceable development, it has assumed dimensions powerful enough to provoke the bitter denunciations of the ruling classes and the hostile demonstrations of governments. It has entered upon the phases of strife. The French government took, of course, the lead in the reactionary proceedings against the working classes. Already last year, we had to signalize some of its underhand maneuvers. It meddled with our correspondence, seized our statutes and Congress documents. After many fruitless steps to get them back, they were at last given up only under the official pressure of Lord Stanley, the English Minister of Foreign Affairs. But the Empire has this year thrown off the mask and tried to directly annihilate the International Association by coups de police and judiciary prosecution. Begot by the struggle of classes, of which the days of June 1848 are the grand set expression, it could not but assume alternately the attitudes of the official savior of the bourgeoisie and the paternal protector of the proletariat. The growing power of the International having manifested itself in the strikes of Rubac's Amiens, Paris, Geneva, etc., reduced our would-be patron to the necessity of turning our society to his own account or of destroying it. In the beginning, he was ready enough to strike a bargain on very moderate terms. The manifesto of the Parisians read at the Congress of Geneva, having been seized at the French frontier, our Paris executive demanded of the Minister of the Interior the reasons of the seizure. M. Rauer then invited one of the members of the committee to an interview, in the course of which he declared himself ready to authorize the entry of the manifesto on the condition of some modifications being inserted. On the refusal of the delegate of the Paris executive, he added, quote, "Still, if you would introduce some words of gratitude to the Emperor, who has done so much for the working classes, one might see what could be done," end quote. In Rauer's, the sub-emperor's insinuation was met by a blank rebuff. From that moment, the imperial government looked out for a pretext to suppress the association. Its anger was heightened by the anti-chauvinist agitation on the part of our French members after the German War. Soon after, when the Fenian panic had reached its climax, the General Council addressed to the English government a petition demanding the commutation of the sentence of the 3 victims of Manchester and qualifying their hanging as an act of political revenge. At the same time, it held public meetings in London for the defense of the rights of Ireland. The Empire, always anxious to deserve the good graces of the British government, thought the moment propitious for laying hands upon the International. It caused nocturnal perquisitions to be made, eagerly rummaged the private correspondence, and announced with much noise that it had discovered the center of the Fenian conspiracy, of which the International was denounced as one of the principal organs. All its laborious researches, however, ended in nothing. The public prosecutor himself threw down his brief in disgust. The attempt at converting the International Association into a secret society of conspirators, having miserably broken down, the next best thing was to prosecute our Paris branch as a non-authorized society of more than 20 members. The French judges, trained by the imperialist discipline, hastened, of course, to order the dissolution of the association and the imprisonment of its Paris executive. The tribunal had the naivete declare in the preamble of its judgment that the existence of the French Empire was incompatible with a working men's association that dared to proclaim truth, justice, and morality as its leading principles. The consequences of these prosecutions made themselves felt in the departments where paltry vexations on the part of the perfects succeeded to the condemnations of Paris. This government chicanery, however, so far from annihilating the association, has given it a fresh impulse by forcing the empire to drop its patronizing airs to the working classes. In Belgium, the International Association has made immense strides. The co-lords of the basin of Charleroi, having driven their miners into riots by incessant exactions, let loose upon those unarmed men the armed force which massacred many of them. It was in the midst of the panic thus created that our Belgian branch took up the cause of the miners, disclosed their miserable economic condition, rushed to the rescue of the families of the dead and wounded, and procured legal counsel for the prisoners, who were finally all of them acquitted by the jury. After the affair of Charleroi, the success of the International in Belgium was assured. The Belgian Minister of Justice, Jules Barre, denounced the International Association in the Chamber of Deputies and made of its existence the principal pretext for the renewal of the law against foreigners. He even dared to threaten he should prevent the Brussels Congress from being held. The Belgian government out at last to understand that petty states have no longer any raison d'etre in Europe, except they be the asylums of liberty. In Italy, the progress of the association has been impeded by the reaction following close upon the ambuscade of Mentana. One of the first consequences was the restriction put upon the right of association and public meeting. But the numerous letters which have come to our hands fully prove that the Italian working class is more and more asserting its individuality quite independently of the old parties. In Prussia, the International cannot exist legally, on account of a law which forbids all relations with foreign societies. Moreover, in regard to the general union of the German working men, the Prussian government has imitated Bonapartism on a shabby scale, always ready to fall foul of each other. The military governments are cheek by jowl when entering upon a crusade against their common enemy, the working classes. In spite, however, of all these petty tribulations, small groups spread over the whole surface of Germany had long since rallied round our Geneva Centre. The General Union of the German workingmen, whose branches are mostly confined in northern Germany, have in their recent Congress held at Hamburg decided to act in concert with the International Workingmen's Association, 23 although debarred from joining it officially, in the program of the Nuremberg Congress, representing upwards of 100 workingmen's societies, which mostly belong to middle and southern Germany. The direct adhesion to the International has been put on the order of the day. At the request of their leading committee, we have sent a delegate to Nuremberg. In Austria, the working class movement assumes a more and more revolutionary aspect. In the beginning of September, a congress was to meet at Vienna, aiming the fraternization of the workingmen of the different races of the empire. They had also sent an address to the English and French workingmen, in which they declared for the principles of the International. Your General Council had already appointed a delegate to Vienna when the liberal government of Austria, on the very point of succumbing to the blows of the feudal reaction, had the shrewdness to stir the anger of the workingmen by prohibiting their Congress. In the struggle maintained by the building trades of Geneva, the very existence of the International in Sweden was put on its trial. The employers made it a preliminary condition of coming to any terms with their workmen, that the latter should forsake the International. The workingmen indignantly refused to comply with this dictate. Thanks to the aid received from France, England, Germany, etc., through the medium of the International, they have finally attained a diminution of 1 hour of labor and 10% increase of wages, already deeply rooted in Switzerland. The International has witnessed since that event a rapid increase in the number of its members. In the month of August last, the German working men residing in Switzerland, about 50 societies, passed at their Congress in Nuremberg an anonymous vote of adhesion to the International. In England, the unsettled state of politics, the dissolution of the old parties, and the preparations of the coming electoral campaign have absorbed many of our most active members, and to some degree retarded our propaganda. Nevertheless, we have entered into correspondence with numerous provincial trade unions, many of which have sent in their adhesion. Among the more recent London affiliations, those of the Courier Society and the City Men's Shoemakers are the most considerable as regards numbers. Your general council, in constant communication with the National Labor Union of the United States, on its last Congress of August 1867, the American Union had resolved to send a delegate to the Brussels Congress, but pressed for time was unable to take special measures necessary for carrying out the vote. The latent power of the working classes of the United States has recently manifested itself in the legal establishment of a working day of 8 hours in all the workshops of the federal government, and in the passing of laws to the same effect by many state legislatures. However, at this very moment, the working men of New York, for example, are engaged in a fierce struggle for enforcing the 8 hours law against the resistance of rebellious capital. This fact proves that even under the most favorable political conditions, all serious success of the proletariat depends upon an organization that unites and concentrates its forces. And even its national organization is still exposed to split on the disorganization of the working classes in other countries, which one and all compete in the market of the world, acting and reacting the one upon the other. Nothing but an international bond of the working classes can ever ensure their definite triumph. This want has given birth to the International Workingmen's Association. That association has not been hatched by a sect or theory. It is the spontaneous growth of the proletarian movement, which itself is the offspring of the natural and irrepressible tendencies of modern society. Profoundly convinced in the greatness of its mission, the International Workingmen's Association will allow itself neither to be intimidated nor misled. Its destiny henceforward coalesces with the historical progress of the class that bear in their hands the regeneration of mankind. London, September 1st. Okay, yeah. What a revealing, writing from Mr. Karl Marx. That was the 4th annual report of the General Council, written in 1868. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Tumblr, Medium. All of these are Marxist. Y'all hit me up there. Y'all have a great day. In the